15 to life. That's the sentence for a man involved in a deadly motorcycle crash that left 2 people dead in Lake George nearly 2 years ago.
I never got to hold his hand and reassure him that his new life in heaven was going to be so beautiful. I simply never got to say goodbye.
It was an emotional day in court for the family of a father and a young son taken far too soon.
A border battle heats up. New York State leaders appear at odds over how to handle migrant crime. And President Biden puts pressure on House Republicans to put aside politics and pass a bipartisan bill that would seriously change how the U.S. handles immigration.
CBS 6 News starts now.
First tonight at 5, former President Donald Trump not immune from prosecution in the federal case over 2020 election interference.
That ruling coming down from a federal appeals court. It sets the stage now for further appeals that could reach the U.S. Supreme Court. Trump argues he's immune from prosecution for his actions while in the White House as he tries to delay his legal troubles until after the election in November. The question remains, when will he go on trial? The March start date has been postponed without a new date set. You can stay with us for more coverage ahead this hour. 15 years to life in prison. That was the sentence handed down today by a Warren County judge to Anthony Futia, the man who lost control of a motorcycle, crashing into a group in Lake George, killing 2 people, including a child, nearly 2 years ago.
Victims' loved ones and Futia speaking in court this morning before that lengthy sentence was handed down. CBS 6's Emma Quinn was there and has this report.
An emotional morning.
Turning now to new video. This video right here that New York City police say is part of an investigation into a crime ring. They say migrants are using stolen mopeds to steal phones, hack the phones, and then gain users' financial information. The crackdown comes as city leaders face mounting pressure on migrants, with several undocumented migrants on the run after being charged in an attack on officers last week. It's being reported that some of them were arrested in Arizona this week. State Republican leaders placing the blame on prosecutors and the state's bail reform laws.
The governor has the power to fix this. She went on national news today, this morning, claiming that she's fixed bail reform, claiming that this is just an issue of confusion. Well, if it's an issue of confusion, what the heck is happening? If she fixed it, how is it still an issue of confusion?
State Republican leaders want Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg to resign or for Governor Hochul to fire him. Bragg, however, expected to present new charges in the officer attack case. Governor Hochul saying she does think New York's bail law should require those migrants be held on bail, and it's up to judges and prosecutors to do that. Hochul has long tried to shift the blame on bail reform to judges and prosecutors, while critics say the changes made since Hochul took office don't fix the holes in reforms. And the man charged with reckless driving and other traffic violations after this scary near miss with the school bus in Pittstown in federal ICE custody. According to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement database, Angel Pachar, an undocumented migrant from Ecuador, is being held at the Buffalo Federal Detention Facility. And in Washington, lawmakers still can't see eye to eye on immigration.
Yeah, the Senate's bipartisan border bill dead on arrival in the House, according to GOP leaders there, who are accused of working behind the scenes with former President Donald Trump to stall the bill.
So Republicans have to decide, who do they serve? Donald Trump or the American people? Bottom line is, this bipartisan bill is a win for America because it makes important fixes to our broken immigration system. And it's the toughest, fairest law that's ever been proposed relative to the border. The reforms in this bill are essential for making our border more orderly, more humane, and more secure.
President Biden says Republicans in Congress are caving to threats from Donald Trump. House Republicans arguing the bill is just an aid package for Israel and Ukraine with some border provisions tacked on. Well, one key immigration question was left out of the Senate's border bill. What happens to the Dreamers, the term that refers to people brought here to the U.S. undocumented as children?
They've been allowed to stay through the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program. They renew their DACA status every 2 years, but some are now saying the system is failing them by not processing their renewals on time.
As Liz Gonzalez reports, they're calling on lawmakers for help, but so far they say it's all fallen on deaf ears.
Let's go ahead and get started.
According to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, there were more than 544,000 DACA recipients as of September. USCIS says its current goal is to process DACA renewal requests within 120 days. Well, still to come, a race to space in our own backyard.
Pretty cool. Next tonight, some local students hoping to make some history.
And coming up in sports, it's a big night from the high school hardwood. But before we get into the big games, we'll hand out our High School Player of the Week award.
And it's another chilly but otherwise beautiful evening.
It's a race to space at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, where students are hard at work, busy trying to make history. Members of the school's Rocket Society Club turning their eyes to the skies, hoping their rocket will soar to heights never seen before by a university rocket team. I caught up with the group, who say despite some challenges, they're still shooting for the stars. While most college students are focused on spring break plans this time of year, this group of RPI students are focused on something a bit more daring. So really, you all are essentially rocket scientists here. Yeah?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool fact to be able to say.
And you can't be a rocket scientist without a rocket, and a big one. Can I lift it?
Oh yeah,
for
of
it.
course, of course.
It doesn't have the
I'm like,
motor.
I don't want it to
No. You're good. No motor in there. Totally safe. Yeah.
The aerospace engineering students, known as the Ascendants, using this rocket to attempt something that no other university team has done before.
2, 1.
Send a rocket 330,000 feet into the sky where Earth and outer space meet.
I've always loved space. I've always loved rocketry. I think this is an awesome opportunity, and I would not want to waste that.
The team off to a good start, launching their rocket more than 42,000 feet high in an earlier competition in Nevada. Their latest design, though, expected to soar up to 375,000 feet, cruising straight into outer space. The students' mentors and accomplished alumni that line these walls, helping guide them along the way. What would it mean for you to have your research one day featured in here, like all of those that came before you?
It would mean everything. It would be a great sense of pride. It would really mean everything, and it would show how well RPI has shaped me.
The students also researching cost-saving benefits of their project that could benefit mankind in the future, making the time, effort, and energy they're dedicating to the mission that much more rewarding.
You feel such a sense of pride because you're like, oh my goodness, I spent so many hours working on this in the lab and on the computer and all that, and then you just put it on the pad, you watch it go up, and then everybody else around you is also watching it, so you're like, yes, it worked. Such a great feeling.
A feeling these students wouldn't trade for anything, even that early spring break planning. What would you say to folks out there who might say, but you guys are young, you should be out there, having fun, relaxing. You don't need to be worried about rockets right now.
Yeah, I would say dare to dream, follow your dreams. I mean, NASA's always been a huge inspiration for me. They show you to follow your dreams, they show you to aim for the moon, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. We're only going up from here.
Now, it takes a few months for the students to complete a rocket, so the team is currently working on their latest design that they plan to test out at a competition this summer against other prestigious university teams, including MIT and Cornell.
Dare to dream. I love the attitude.
Yes.
The richness of the aerospace tradition there, that they're carrying it on. You walked right through there. George Lowe, you see him right there. It's so cool.
I love when I get to talk to the RPI students. They're so bright, and this particular bunch are so passionate about what they're doing.
There you go.
Best of luck to them.
Carpe diem, RPI. All right, sports coming up next. Here's
Cool some into early next week, maybe a minor system Monday that could produce some additional rain or mixed rain and snow showers as we start the work week.
Thank you, Steve. You know what? I think sports is next now. I'm pretty sure it's coming up next. Here's a look at what's ahead at 5:30.
New York cannabis regulators have high hopes as they face pressure for the industry's slow rollout.
I'm Atrell Nashar in Washington with why a federal appeals court says former President Trump is not immune from prosecution in the 2020 election subversion case.
Wow, so some big accomplishments right there for us two young people. Good for that. All right, ahead of 5:30, our Black History Month coverage continues.
We'll share how one event hosted by a local college is helping underserved communities in need of educational opportunities. First at 5:30, your top stories and weather headlines. Here's what you need to know.
Anthony Fucci is sentenced to 15 years to life behind bars for a deadly crash in Lake George. In June of 2022, Futia was driving his motorcycle without a license and while high when he crashed into a group of pedestrians, killing James Persons and his 8-year-old stepson, Quentin Delgadillo.
Some New York State Republican lawmakers want Manhattan's district attorney to resign or be fired. This after some migrants charged in an attack on New York police officers were released without bail. DA Alvin Bragg is expected to announce new charges in the case.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will move ahead with a vote on a bipartisan border bill. President Biden says Republicans are choosing party over country, working with former President Trump to stall the bill for political gain. In-depth coverage on all of these stories online. Just head to CBS6Albany.com.
A major milestone met today in New York State. The 50th conditional adult use retail dispensary brick and mortar store is now open.
New York's legal cannabis industry has been a very slow rollout so far, leading to behind-the-scenes drama with Governor Hochul's administration. CBS 6 continuing to look at the future of an industry that could be worth billions. We have team coverage live for you tonight in our studio as well, as those hoping to open dispensaries are hitting roadblocks every step of the way, it seems.
We begin with CBS 6's Ashley Kusakonki. And Ashley, regulators are optimistic that things will speed up.
Greg Amani, the Office of Cannabis Management, or
The National Transportation Safety Board says that the Alaska Airlines plane that lost a door panel mid-flight left a Boeing factory missing the bolts that secured the panel. The 4 bolts that were supposed to hold the Boeing 737 MAX 9's door plug in place were missing before it blew out. The National Transportation Safety Board released its preliminary report on the incident today. The regulators say the lack of damage to the plug where the bolts were supposed to attach the door to the fuselage of the plane indicates they were never there to begin with. In a statement, Boeing takes responsibility and says it's working to ensure it never happens again. Meantime, on Capitol Hill today, members of Congress grilling FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker. Much of the focus is on last month's Alaska Airlines incident where a door plug blew off mid-flight, like we mentioned. Whitaker says the FAA will ensure Boeing, the plane manufacturer, is held accountable for any non-compliance issues, but the agency may need more manpower.
I think we're going to need more boots on the ground. We're going to need more inspectors. We don't have that many inspectors on the aircraft certification side of the house.
The FAA grounded more than 100 737 MAX 9 planes after the incident. Inspections on all but the specific plane involved are wrapping up today. Whitaker says nothing in the Boeing audit requires immediate action, but the agency wants to conduct regular audits. It's hoping to gain more funding for staffing in the bipartisan FAA reauthorization bill, which is currently stalled in the Senate. Fake robocalls in New Hampshire that sounded like President Biden days before the presidential primary there are linked by prosecutors to a company in Texas. According to New Hampshire's Attorney General, no charges have been filed yet, but a criminal investigation is underway into the Life Corporation advertising agency, along with the call's provider, Lingo Telecom. The robocall, generated by artificial intelligence, sounded like President Biden telling people not to vote. It's estimated between 5,000 and 25,000 of these calls went out.
Our message is clear. Law enforcement across the country is unified on a bipartisan basis and ready to work together to combat any attempt to undermine our elections.
Facebook and Instagram's parent company, Meta, is trying to get ahead of misinformation this November in the presidential election. But artificial intelligence poses a challenge. Meta says it's going to try to label all AI-generated images so people know they're fake. But audio and video using AI is another story. The company says it can't yet detect when people use AI to fake someone's voice, so it calls on users to disclose when they share something made by AI. Next tonight, giving underserved communities a shot at educational opportunities. Our Black History Month coverage continues with a look at a program making a difference right here in the Capital Region.
And household debt is growing, what you can do to manage it. And in an effort to bridge the divide and empower families, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute hosted its 25th Black Families Technology Awareness Day.
And as CBS 6's Ashley Kusakonki reports, the event is aimed at increasing awareness and accessibility to educational and career opportunities within underserved communities.
sponsored by
50 degrees coming up. All right, coming up here, all new at 6 tonight on CBS 6, A Crisis in the Classroom report, a shift in the future of college admissions.
One school bucking the trend and keeping standardized tests a requirement.
And one woman making a name for herself.
A new report says U.S. household debt continues to climb.
The Federal Reserve Bank of New York says a big part of that is credit card debt, which hit another new record. Americans now collectively owe $1.13 trillion. That is a whopping 46% increase from the start of 2021.
I think that really speaks to high inflation and high interest rates. The average credit card right now charges a record high 20.74%. That's making it harder for people to get out of debt, as is the fact that they're charging more things.
The report also says credit card and auto loan delinquencies are continuing to rise, notably among younger borrowers. Financial experts say if you have credit card debt, transferring that debt to a zero balance transfer card, one that does not charge interest for up to 21 months, could really help.
A new law takes effect Sunday here in New York, clarifying credit card surcharge laws. It aims to provide greater transparency for consumers by limiting surcharges and requiring businesses to disclose surcharge amounts before purchase. Surprise surcharges when using credit cards are identified as a type of hidden fee and can mislead consumers when making purchases. Well, still to come tonight, it was an emotional day in court for the family of a father and a young son taken far too soon.
15 to life, that's the sentence for a man involved in a deadly motorcycle crash that left those two people dead in Lake George nearly 2 years ago. Stay with us for more from the courtroom.